Hi everyone, my name is Zahara Green. I'm a transsexual from Atlanta, Georgia. In this video, I plan to go into some small details about my incarceration period and what my life is now. So I will start with talking about 2010 and 2011 when I first started posting videos on YouTube. My life was in shambles. It may have looked as if I was living a certain kind of way, but I wasn't, because I wasn't living my life the right way. I was doing everything wrong to live a life that I wanted to live. And I remember Annalise asking me, "Oh girl, how do you got your nail done and your hair done all the time?" And so. I'm like, no girl. Now where is Annalise? I have not heard anything about Annalise, so if anybody have any information on Annalise, I would like to know, because I would like to talk to her. I really did like her. She just disappeared out of thin air. But anyway, I wonder if she still got a YouTube channel. I might look at that. But I'm sorry. But yeah, it just wasn't going well. So I was arrested I think it was May 10th, 2011. And that was in the state of Tennessee in Hamilton County. And I remember it in my mind going into the jail. They placed me with the women. I told them what I was, and they strip searched me separately. And I remember being strip searched by a male guard. And they placed me in this cage after I was strip searched and showered and everything. They placed me in this cage by myself, and I remember guys walking by looking at me, and I was like, oh my, what is this, some type of freak show or something? They eventually placed me inside of a cell that was extremely small, the size of a small closet. The toilet was right there. They gave me a mattress and a blanket, and my head was literally 1 inch from the toilet. Like, everything was so confined in such a small space that it was basically inhumane and unlivable. I eventually wrote the jail commander and wrote a grievance on the situation, and he came and answered my complaints. And I remember very vividly when he said to me that this isn't the Comfort Inn. You can't expect to have certain amenities and stuff. I said, well, I'm not expecting for jail to be the Comfort Inn. I'm expecting to be in conditions that are not inhumane. That was my first battle. It was long. There's a lot of battles. But I want people to understand that as I'm telling my story, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying, why did this happen to me? Oh, I didn't deserve this. No, I'm not saying any of those things whatsoever, because I know that I made decisions and choices that landed me in jail and in prison. So I understand that part of it. So it's not like I'm sitting here being, complaining about anything, because I'm not complaining about nothing. So let's not feel that way. But I'm just telling my story on how I see it. So I was placed in isolation at the Hamilton County Jail in this bar, single cell by myself, and it was terrible. It was just awful being there by yourself, and all you had was music. And that's what I did, listen to music that whole period of time. I'm trying to hurry with this movie so with this video so I can go eat and finish all these other things that I had planned today. Because I've been doing this for way too long. I recorded over 6 videos, and the last 4 wasn't working properly, and it's like, oh, I'm ready to get this over with now. But I want to tell the story, and I want people to understand it, So that's why I'm doing it. But I was eventually sent to the Silverdale CCA facility in Tennessee after having my case bound over to Superior Court. And there I was placed in general population with my co-defendant. We were eventually separated, and I was sent to a different part, and he was sent to a different part of the facility. And there I was placed in an 8-man cell with gang members, blood gang members to be exact. And I remember feeling very uncomfortable. They wasn't mean to me or anything like that. They was like for lack of better words, nice to me. And I remember being in there and I was like, oh my God, everything is open. The showers are open. The toilet is open. Everything is open. I have no privacy whatsoever. And it was just too much on me, because it's okay to be stripped from your privacy, but not to the extent that you can become the whole show to people. And that's what I did not like. I did not like to have all these men gawking at me while I'm in the shower. It was very uncomfortable. And they did. And it's like they didn't, and some guys just completely gawked and just looked like, oh, wow, breath, oh, this, that. You know what I mean? While other guys would pretend like they walking around in circles getting exercise, but the whole time they're peeking over to me every time they turn the corner. So it's like, okay, whatever. But, I couldn't do that. So I asked to be placed somewhere else in a different cell, not where it's 8 people in open showers. So they placed me in some other cell, and next thing you know, they placed me in protected custody for whatever reason. I was placed in protected custody for about a month. I sent complaints. I wrote grievances. It was terrible being in isolation, segregation. Nothing, you know, it's absolutely terrible being in segregation. Being by yourself in a cell with nothing but the walls. And I think of Miley Cyrus' song, These Four Walls, and I was singing in my head, and I was singing out loud, and I remember being in that confined space in segregation, and it just said, it was just me and these 4 walls. There was nothing else, just me and the 4 walls. I see reports on segregation and what people like to call solitary confinement, because that's what it is. And being there, you know, over that month period was very difficult. So they said, oh, so you want to complain, you want to have a problem with being in segregation, solitary confinement, we're trying to protect you, you want to write grievances, and you want to complain about everything. They said, okay, well, we're going to let you out. We're going to let you out of solitary confinement, and we're going to place you in general population like you want. So, they placed me in the G2 housing unit, which is double cells. And that is the moment, because G2 housing unit was the worst housing unit in the whole entire facility. If anybody been to the Silverdale CCA in the year of 2011, they will know that G2 housing unit was the worst housing unit in the whole facility, because it consists of nothing but gang members, and it was violent. It was just terrible. So they sent me to that housing unit, and that's when I started receiving harassment. At first, when I first came in the door, everybody was saying their little things and feeling a certain kind of way. It was rumors about Hugh was sleeping with me, and I was like, okay, how can anybody sleep with me when they had me in this cell? And I'm like, how's this working? I'm like, come on, people. It was these 2 young guys that came up to me and had all kind of questions about my transition and my body anatomy and all these different questions. And at first I was being naive and answering their questions, not realizing anything. And I got tired of it at some point with them being in my face and everything. And that's when the harassment started. That's when I started being attacked verbally every single day, being name called. And I remember this one day, the young guy threw juice on me, and I snapped. I mentally snapped. I just snapped. I couldn't take it anymore. I went to them and I told them what was going on, and how I was being harassed, and how it was just too much to deal with. And you know, they force you with a decision to make. You either choose being in solitary confinement, where you can't function in general population, and you need to be in solitary confinement, where you're by yourself in a cell, nothing but the walls and the noise, because you had constant noise of people yelling out of the cells, losing their minds. Just so unbearable. So I was forced with this choice of being harassed and physically and verbally assaulted on a daily basis, or being placed in segregation with nothing but four walls. I chose segregation with nothing but four walls. You're faced with a difficult decision. Very difficult decision. Being a transgender woman, being incarcerated, it's very hard. Very hard. But I plan to make a difference so that people would have to go through those things in the future. You know, I would like for transgender women not to commit crimes, but sometimes I can understand their situation. And I know sometimes we're all human. Humans commit crimes. You know, it's not like a specific group of people just saying, oh, this specific group. No, people commit crimes. But I know that there's different experiences for different people, but the transgender experience or being incarcerated will mainly be the same. So hopefully I can, you know, do something to change that in the future with my future plans that I go on to tell you about later on. But yeah, I made that choice to be segregated. I made that choice to be in solitary confinement. It was a difficult decision to make because I knew that it would be just me and those four walls, but I wanted to be harassed and verbally assaulted and physically assaulted every single day. So it was like, okay, well, that's your decision. Let me think if I need to say anything about Silverdale anymore. No. Okay, so eventually I was extradited from protective custody to Georgia, to the Hall County Detention Center, which was the worst segregation experience I've ever experienced in my life. The Hall County decided to segregate me in solitary confinement in the medical unit, where the lights stayed on 24/7. The food was deplorable. I mean, so disgusting. I mean, that was punishment to a whole nother level. One moment. Okay, I'm back. So I think I was talking about the Hall County Detention Center. Okay, it was deplorable conditions, just terrible, and I remember not being able to take it whatsoever. And I asked my mother to bond me out of that facility. Thank God she had the money to bond me out, and she bonded me out of that facility. And I was sent to another facility, which was okay. I don't need to go into detail about it. It was okay. It was a small town somewhere north of Georgia. It was okay. You know, I was able to deal with it. And then I was sent to prison, Georgia Department of Corrections. Initially, every inmate, I think, goes through the diagnostic procedure. I think you go to either 2 different places or something like that. I don't know. But most people go to Jackson, which is the Georgia Diagnostic Classification Prison, where they have death row and where they execute inmates and prisoners at. I was sent there, and I remember going through there, and the guy was like saying something about everybody had to say sir, yes sir, and I said sir, yes sir. He's like, oh, I know you got more bass in your voice. And I was like, okay, whatever, and I said it. Then they called me out of the line. They took me to the shakedown shack. The shakedown shack is where they search you and strip you from all your clothing. And I remember shaking down, and the deputy warden of security walked in, and while I was shaking down, and saw me, and I took a shower. They gave you this light stuff, and it was terrible. And I was sent to the gym, and the moment I stepped into the gym, everyone in the gym just started going crazy. I mean, they was hooping and hollering, and it was like, yeah, I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I mean, seriously. They took me over to the barber's chair, and they shaved every bit of my hair off my head. And I remember it grew so long, and I was like, oh, it's terrible. They cut every bit of my hair off. And they stripped me from my womanhood. They tried to make me something that I didn't identify with. And they forced it on you. So here I am, a transgender woman at a prison, a male's prison. They immediately segregated me, and I was in isolation segregation there. And it's the dog, honey. But I was in isolation segregation there, and it was terrible, really. I know I'm saying most of all these places are terrible, but they were. And I don't know what she doing, but there was rats. There was no air conditioning. It was burning up. It was in the summertime. I remember sweating the whole time, you know. And I'm like, okay, I can't take off my shirt like all the rest of the men. I mean, what am I to do? And like, I am burning the fuck up. It was hot as hell. It was in the summertime. I think it was like, yeah, it was like May to July. I was there, and it was so hot. No AC. It was rats at night. It was just filth, nastiness, old prison with bars, and just awful. After spending 2 months on segregation, I was sent to the Roger State Prison, where I was sexually assaulted, where I lost a lot of my sanity at. I stayed in a constant fear of being there at that prison, because I always felt that this day may be the last day I'll be living. I always felt that maybe I'm going to do something wrong, and today I'm going to lose my life because these people, this person has nothing to lose. You already have a life sentence. You're not going anywhere. Me, I have a 4-year sentence and the possibility of being up for parole in a year and a half. But my whole life can be taken away from me. Why? Because your whole life is already taken away from you. I'm not going to go into details about it due to the pending litigation about what happened to me there. You know, all I do is just leave it at one word, leave it at one statement. The worst experience of my whole entire life. After leaving Roger State Prison, I was sent to the Georgia State Prison. After being there, after a week or so, I was sent to the C2 housing unit, which is a housing unit for the, what do they call them? They call it a certain kind of housing unit. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was for like people that honor, the honor unit. They call it the honor unit, yeah. And they had transgender inmates there. It was about 6 or 7 of us, and I was there, and everything was good. And that's when it was like a place where it wasn't as terrible, and I can't say terrible. You know, this is the first time I cannot describe a prison as being terrible. You know what I mean? It was actually okay. It wasn't terrible, and I was like, okay, well, I can finish my sentence here and be okay, because I'm not in segregation. I'm in general population, and I'm with people that are just like me, and we're being protected. We're being protected, but we're not being protected in a way of having to segregate us from the whole facility. We're being protected and segregating us in a room by ourselves, but letting us out in general population to participate in all activities that any other inmate can participate throughout the prison. So it was a-okay for me. And I remember putting in to go to a transition center, and I was very optimistic. So I was like, okay, I know a transgender person never been here before, and what might happen, you know, I might not get sent here. And I remember being sent to the Atlanta Transition Center, and this is the place that changed my life. Changed my life because the transition center showed me a different light on life. They taught me how to find a job. They taught me how I was supposed to, you know, conduct myself in an interview. They helped me help myself. And I took advantage of a situation that could possibly help me in my future. And there is where I made plans on my future. And I knew that I could not come back to a place that I were. And I know that there was another way for me, and a better way for me. And the transition helped me escape my past and helped me blossom with my future. So, it was great. My prison incarceration stay ended, I believe, March 10th, 2014. And that was the end of it all. The moment I was released from prison, I went to my aunt's house on parole. And I was still working my job that I had at the time when I was in a transition center. And I got promoted at that job. And I just couldn't deal with the drama there anymore. So I started college, with a degree, taking up a degree, social degree in applied science for paralegal studies. My goal and my plan is to receive a degree in paralegal studies, find a better job that's paying me more. I currently work for Walgreens. Find a job that will pay me more money, where I can live on and feel, financially stable, and after I find that job, I plan to get a bachelor's degree, Bachelor of Science in Legal Studies. And after I get that degree, I plan to go to law school and become a lawyer. After I become a lawyer, I plan on opening my organization here in Atlanta for transgender people that are incarcerated. I plan to help people all over the country that are incarcerated, that are transgender, in every facility. Hopefully I can work hand in hand with administrators of jails and prisons on how to work with transgender people and what to do as far as their safety and housing them where it's not considered cruel and unusual. And that's one of my plans, and I plan on opening a homeless shelter here in Atlanta for transgender women who are homeless. So that's my second plan. I will say this: I was meant to go to prison. Everything in my life was meant to happen for a specific reason, because everything I went to have made me the woman that I am today. A woman that is mentally strong. A woman who now know how to deal with certain situations and how to react to certain situations. A woman that is not as naive as I were. A woman who now have street sense instead of book sense and common sense. A woman who has developed into a woman. A woman who is moving forward in her life and see nothing but success from this part on out. I am stronger and I am better. And incarceration and being incarcerated has made me this woman. This is the story of, this is a part story of being incarcerated as a transgender woman. Thank you for watching my video.